doll friends. This is Michael Kanadas with the Grovian Doll Museum and Carmel Doll Shop. We are back at the Susan Nunes collection, and they have granted us access to some wonderful things. Not only do we have access, we've actually we're able to take these out of their situation so that all of you can have close-ups of these items, because they're beautifully displayed in various situations, which make it sometimes hard for the cameraman and yours truly to show you. So we pulled out a few that tell an amazing story. And in collecting, there are all kinds of trends. Always have been, always will be. And one of the things that right now are trending as far as investment quality type dolls are dolls known as Grodner dolls. They also have other names such as penny woodens and tuck-comb woodens and all of the things that collectors have put on them. Good for Susan and Lou. They were interested in these things before a lot of people were, so they have a vast collection of them, showing the charm. And there's something great about something that was around when Queen Victoria was a little girl, and some of them predate Queen Victoria by quite a bit. So if I'm going to tell you the story of the woodens, I think we have to start in the Nunes collection in the beginning. And this little treasure, I would date this one as the earliest. And what I'm going by is the construction of the doll. Notice that the arms are quite a bit different. The profile is different. The face is different. It's much more intricate. And I would put this at the very earliest era of the Grodner dolls, as they say in Germany, pieces. And what we have here is basically the guillotine cut. So when, during the French Revolution, they started to basically murder people. And the first thing that they would do is cut their hair. And as the French always do, they turn that into a fashion statement. So this is a lady, but her hair is cut short. And of course, another indicator, fashionable, was they would wear a red choker. But this, in the Nunes collection, I would say is the oldest of the dolls. Now, there is enough of them, but we're not taking the collection apart, that you could literally take these dolls and set them up into study groups, and we'll never know who the exact maker is, but you can start to see a rhythm, because artists in the 19th century, artists today, are trapped in their own world and their own time and their artistry. So even if they try really hard, there's always something that gives them away as a signature. So case in point, this would be another one that I would think is fairly early. Now you can see the hair is swept up. She has a comb. She has the side curls, beautiful finish, articulated body with all jointed, original costume, which is oh, I just forgot what it's called, but it's a chintz. It's basically a chintz. So this is a cotton that is then given a lot of additives to give it that sheen. Now, why did they do that? It was to make a form of silk for the consumer to have it look like silk, but it was cheaply done. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. So if you come in and look, you see all these carving marks. So this carving gives the illusion of curls, texture. And if we go to this important gentleman, because again, in all things dolls, there are less males than there are females. Same region that this was made, probably the same maker. And when I say it was a maker, this was done in small. It is believed that these were done by farmers, carvers, that they did their carving in the time of the year when they could not farm. So in the winter, they would create the dolls, and then they would be ready for the next season. Most likely Christmas is when the market would happen. This one is unique. All of the dolls on this table, all except for one other, are all wooden. This one is actually a wooden shoulder head. So it's a wooden shoulder head on a cloth body, but very interesting. So then I'm going to step around, excuse me, and I'm going to come over here to show you his companion. Now, you can see very similar face. Hair is probably identical to the girl in pink, but what's unique about this piece is it has a wig, and the wig is simply applied over the painted hair. And was this done by the maker? Probably not. This was probably done by the dressmaker. These dolls would have been sold ultimately wherever they, the place that they would be wholesaled would be Nuremberg. So Nuremberg was where you had the great toy fair. It's still going on. It went on for hundreds of years. So they'd buy the doll nude. This would go to a shop. The shop could be in Belgium. It could be in France. It could be wherever, England, and then it would be dressed. Now, what I think is interesting about this piece is I believe that this is a ballet costume because the skirt is so short, and it just somehow, to me, has a very much a theatrical feeling towards it. And we have the fingerless gloves, which were around since the 17th century as a fashion statement. And I do not believe that those have ever been removed. Or let's just say that she's not a ballet dancer because she has a little doll. Maybe someone put this on her, maybe not. Maybe she's meant to depict a little girl, but look at her with me. She's anything but little. And I will point out that most of these dolls, which collectors call them Grodner, so just to make it easy, have a form of a pierced ear, and usually they have wooden drops coming from their ear. But as a sewer, and I know a lot of you out there are sewers, look at the pleating, and it's probably done by a fluter, but I have never seen a fluter that tiny. It's just spectacular. So I'll get you the whole show of this. And as I said earlier, this is all wood. Now, this one is very sophisticated in its look, and this one is very sophisticated as well. But you can see a totally different face, a little more pinched in, small face, nice big round head. And now we're into the 1830s, and we can kind of go by that, by the costume with the lamb chop sleeves. And another unique feature on this one is her little earrings. And normally we see little wooden pieces, but these look like tiny little turned metal earrings. So that's kind of a nice little find. As far as the feet, you can find a rainbow of colors: red, green, blue, orange, you name it. There was no color shortage. Now on this piece, even though, again, it's kind of got a small face, eggshell, this has been turned, then they've gone in and done their little carving details. But look at the shadowing for the curls on the side. Really, really nice. An exceptional comb on the top of her head. You could call it a comb tiara if you like. Very nice. And she has her original wooden earrings. And even though this doll is all wood, it's pretty much as light as a feather. So I'm going to say that most likely she was created out of pine because it's fairly light. Now the next one I'm going to show you is, we have a few of these in our collection, and I think that this is really, really charming. It is a pincushion, and I believe that these were ladies' projects. Don't be shocked by this, but I think that what they would do is buy these dolls, which were inexpensive, and then they would simply snap off the legs and then insert them into the pincushion. And pins were a very important part of the last, early part of the last century and the century before in putting ladies' clothing together. So you can see they've used pins to decorate her little darling apron. But it's really a wonderful piece. And I know that there are other collectors that collect these, but they're hard to get. So then I want to, I think one of the reasons that all of a sudden Grods have become so popular is the bicentennial of Queen Victoria's birth, and the Kensington Palace and the late Queen and the new King Charles have embraced sharing the royal collection. And one of the main things that us doll collectors are interested in Queen Victoria is the fact that she was a doll lover and had a big collection of these dolls. So there's been a whole renaissance of these dolls, and at the Grovian Doll Museum and Carmel Doll Shop, we got the party started with our celebration of Queen Victoria's dolls back in the day, but here we have a wonderful girl that we were able to take out of her situation and share with you so you could get an up-close peek at this little doll with her really, really exceptional wardrobe. She originally came in this little band box, and it is a little time capsule. And again, it's just a classic little Grod with just a simple little comb, but there's so much charm to these. And she's actually a pretty good size, very mobile, so she could sit. And Susan has her displayed in a bottom shelf that are sometimes hard to display, but because of her size and that these items lay flat, it's easy to display. So we're going to look at some more Grods in situation. But before we leave, I wanted to share. So in the 19th century, things were, there was a lot of duty. And one of the things in duty was by weight. So if you start to have a couple of 100 or 300 of these dolls ordered, that's going to be a lot of weight. So the French, being ever inventive, came up with the idea of how do you compete with that? So, innovation. You take the same concept, make it into paper mache, and this is half the weight. I feel, even though it's something different, it is in the family of, and this is another piece in the Newness collection that we're able to take out of a bottom shelf so that all of you can see it. Now, what is different about this doll than these dolls, most of everything I've shown you so far have been ladies. And this particular item is a little girl. So this is just a little bit before, not much, but a little bit before the movement of the French fashion dolls that we know, such as Maison Hiré. So we're going to change gears, and we are going to put on our knee pads, and we are going to get down and show you more Grods in the Newness collection. So we'll be right back. So we're back, and we've put all those treasures away. We don't want to have too many out at one time. But now we're going to go and look at some little Grods in their natural habitat. We are now in the gallery that's known as the gallery. And it's one of the newest rooms. And there's lots and lots of treasures in here. So now we showed you things up close and personal outside of their normal display. But this we couldn't move. And you'll see for obvious reasons. So this is not going to be elegant, but the only way that we can share this with you is David and I have to get down on our hands and knees. So I'll be the first to go. So you might have to all help me get up because it's easy getting down, but it's hard getting up. So come on down, David. You can do it. That's good for us. I'll hold this for a minute. So the doll sitting at the table in the gold dress, all of these items belong to her. And it's a very complete, lovely wardrobe. And I want to point out to you the 2-scale mini prints dresses. And cottons were very fashionable at the time. So she's got quite a few of those types of garments. And you can see with her scale that a classic dollhouse sewing table, which is over here, works perfectly. And she has a very nice baby. And I do want you to look at the paint decoration on her face. She's got actually quite a couple of extra details in her curls, which is very sweet. And I think that, again, if we did a serious comparison, we would come up with, she was made by one maker. And then if you look at the doll on the right, again, a little more simplistic type of Grod, but nevertheless charming. No curls to speak of. Very severe hairstyle, but beautiful gauze dress and a nice little baby and some actually wonderful prints. And I think that some of her fabrics that her clothes would be made of are actually older than she is. Like there's a little petticoat right over here. Not that, no, over here on this side, behind her. Sorry. It's not easy, people. So that little petticoat is probably fabric that was a remnant that they used to make her a sweet little petticoat. So I think what's interesting about this is Susan has created this little world filled with ambiance in what I would call a problematic display space because it's down low. But when you're standing up over it, you get a really nice view. And you can see that it has a very nice English center table created in the period that they're from, with a nice little marquetry design on the top. And if someone gets sleepy, there's a very, very fine bed that's nicely appointed. So I'm going to show you what I think are really my favorite of this genre in the Newness collection. I promised that I would save the best for last. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a lot in this collection to look at that's the best. But in my opinion, I think that this is the best. But first, before we go there, I want to share this one. Because now we're fairly large and fairly early. But what I think is just to die, besides the face and the paint condition and all of that originality, is this dress with all of this hand embroidery work, and just done on cotton. So that's pretty epic. But this is the one that I wanted you all to see, and I'm going to pick her up so that way you can see how big she is, because this is a great big beautiful Grod, and it's again super early, and now they've come up with new terms for these dolls, such as bust-line dolls. Again, the language and never stops. It's always evolving. But look at the carving in the center part with the comb marks from the comb, the curls, the braid on top, the comb, the braids wrapped around. That's pretty impressive. So we're at the very earliest part of 19th century, 1805, 6, 7 in there. But this is what's interesting, is basically this is the bust line, and this would be basically like the chemise showing, and this is all decorated, which is pretty amazing. And the face is hyper realistic, long neck. One of the great fashion icons of this period was Josephine Bonaparte. If you look at this doll, it has very much the look of Pauline Bonaparte, the sister of Napoleon Bonaparte, who is one of the great beauties and style setters of the time. That's kind of where you have this long neck, and look at that side profile, very Napoleonic. Lovely dress. And if she looks familiar to doll fans, this was once part of the Estelle Johnston collection. And I don't normally think of the collector that owned a doll as that particularly important, except Estelle Johnston did a tremendous amount of writing and research back in the day, and she was interested in early dolls before a lot of people. So this is a great big doll, and like all of her sisters, she has the painted on slipper, but this lady has an actual pair of original slippers that go on to her feet. And at this time, basically like a ballet slipper was what was fashionable. Heels were not, flats were. Now the tableau that she lives in, you can see we've got a pretty amazing bed, and has a lovely mattress, except what's interesting about this piece is it's actually a sewing box. So you open it up and it would hold all of your sewing implements. But right now it's her bed. So I'm going to put her back into situation and have her sit elegantly. There's no way that this doll could not be elegant. It's just an amazing piece. And what happened to her shoes? Did we lose them already? Or is she sitting on them? Oh, there they are. Okay. And this arrangement of furniture was done with things of the period and things that are older than the period, things from the 18th century. And then we have another doll that I know that it is in one of the early doll books. And again, if it's important to know the collectors of the past, we could find that out. And again, a very sophisticated vase. And you can see it's a little bit different. It has all of the carving marks to kind of give a curl effect. And then we have the comb. Sophisticated hands. Look at both of these dolls, have very sophisticated hands. Remember in the 19th century, 18th century, the bigger the doll was, the more expensive it was. So as they're bigger, they would put more detail into them. And of course, it's easier when they're bigger to give them more detail. But of this type of doll in the Nunes collection, this is just, she's one of my favorites. And I hope you enjoyed seeing her. And it was nice for her to get out of her cabinet. So friends, we will be back with more shows for you later. Bye-bye. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.